let's talk about getting important things done. If you want to be a high income professional, if you want to get outcomes that are meaningful and create results for your company and yourself, then you have to understand the critical path. Hi, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. There is a critical function of every activity that is the most valuable, the most important, and the most powerful part of what you're doing. Now, there's a great book by Perry Marshall called The 80-20 for Sales and Marketing. Now, the title is a little deceptive because the book really is about applying the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle, to your day-to-day activities. And it means doing more effective and valuable work and structuring appropriately to have the routine work done by somebody who's entry level to it. Let me explain. First off, everything you do in the course of a day does not have equal value. Completing a work assignment is more valuable than reporting on the work assignments you might complete in the future. Actually, depositing money in your bank account means more than the potential money you might earn in an opportunity or a position. Now, when you're focusing on an activity, there are specialized skills. These specialized skills require training, education, quite a bit of investment to produce these activities. So, for example, if you're a selling professional, your ability to find customers and close sales, solve problems for your customers, is the most valuable thing. Now, the data entry for the prospects or the research necessary to find prospective buyers is valuable as a contributor to your key functions, yet not as important because you can hire somebody who can do the work faster, better, and in a more appropriate rate. Now, this is important to understand. MIT did a study that if you can outsource, so let's say you have a quality factor of 100% when you do the task. If you can outsource the task at half the cost at a 60% effectiveness rating, so meaning their quality score is 60%, their ability to do the job is 60% relative to your ability, yet you're paying them 50% less, then it's actually better to hire them and train them up. So this is really about people building as much as it's about developing an effective organization. Now, not every task has the same value. And very often you'll have salespeople going and getting coffee, salespeople that are going and they're driving from place to place. Well, it seems like it's part of the job, but it's not the most important part of the job. If you look at two industries, so for example, in the fleet fuel sales, I drove site to site, and in the financial services industry, people came to the individual. They came to me, they came to a consultant. Both of those industries, they're selling product, and the best thing about selling is that if you can find the customer who wants to buy what you have, there's not a lot of selling as far as persuasion is concerned. It's more about helping them, take an order. But in the sales world, if you're the kind of salesperson where people call you and just buy, you're considered an order taker. It doesn't matter if you've invested in the relationship. It doesn't matter if you've been educating the customer about the product. None of that stuff matters because the perception is the salesperson is not working hard. See, in our Puritan culture, everybody tries to work harder rather than working smarter. Now, if you set up an environment where the salesperson just receives the call and they're working on relationship building, on problem solving, on appropriate match, it doesn't matter whether they go to the person or the person comes to the office, except for the amount of time in a day they can dedicate to the activities that are critical and important to the outcomes that you want. Now, I wrote a big program and I've trained people on this. It's called outcome management. And it's a very important and powerful part of focusing your work so you know what you want to do. And then we've talked in other programs about goal setting. That's the why you want to do things. So a goal is not really the outcome. Goal is, hey, I'm going to earn 10% more than I earned last year. And I'm going to improve my responsibility and how I feel about my skill set. And I'm going to adjust my relevance in a marketplace. That's the why. So why would you want to do that? Why is that important to you? The what you're going to do, the outcomes packaged up as deliverables to projects, now helps you establish priority, because not all those efforts, those efforts are packaged in a project, not all of those projects will have equal value towards the outcome. And see, I know we're talking about equity and equality and all this stuff here, but the truth of it is that some individuals have more skills than others. And if we don't adjust the playing field in the sense of focusing individuals on their strengths, we won't be able to cultivate and grow individuals who are entry level into the marketplace. And I don't want to get into the whole discussion of minimum wage. And that's something that, as Inside Strategic Relations is about the psychology and the thinking involved in getting the outcomes that you're looking for. Minimum wage is a distraction. I know people that have worked for zero. They've worked a commission sales job where they got zero unless they solved the problem for the customer, which created a sale, and they did what was important to their role. Now, I've known financial people who have done seminars and events to teach others about their money and the importance of investing, yet never made a single sale. They ended up being a public speaker, and public speakers don't get paid very much, and they never did the sales closing part. But let's get back to whether the salesperson goes out to find the prospect or the prospect comes to them. The transportation time is overhead to get to the customer. They got to fly there. They got to go meet with them. Modern times lets you meet on Zoom, but you don't have the relationship connection anymore. Now, somebody in an office, a person will come in, schedule an appointment, and then meet by appointment. That's more efficient because a salesperson spends 80% of their time selling rather than 20 to 40% of their time traveling. And this can be solved by simply having your salespeople, and this was an annoyance in some of the areas I worked in, but basically we had salespeople that had drivers. So the salesperson had a driver, and the driver would drive out and they'd pick up the customer, and they'd take the customer out to lunch. Meanwhile, the salesperson doesn't have to pay attention to the road. They can pay 100% attention to the customer. And then when they were done, they shook hands. The customer would contact the salesperson's assistant, who would get that schedule going, get that next step on the schedule. And the salesperson, meanwhile, would be off to the next customer relationship, because it really is that customer relationship that creates the value that would motivate somebody to know, like, and trust in a way that they would call you to buy a product. I know it sounds a bit convoluted, but again, if we go back to our relationship flow diagrams, you'll see a salesperson who's doing their own transportation, who's doing their own paperwork, is not doing the critical success factor. And so the Pareto principle, applied through Perry Marshall's book, talks about $1,000 an hour activities, $10 an hour activities, $1 an hour activities. The reason salespeople take folks to lunch is because a bag lunch by themselves, the salesperson is not belly to belly in front of somebody, like Tom Hopkins talks about, belly to belly in front of a qualified prospect. Well, how do you get in front of a qualified prospect? Well, a qualified prospect wants food. Their time is valuable, but they're going to eat sometime. And so meeting you at a nice restaurant, having a meal, casually discussing their needs is time effective for the other person as well. So let's summarize. The critical path to the outcome you desire requires you to make decisions about the activities that you do and the focus of your energy. And often you can dilute your financial means by hiring somebody, hiring an assistant, hiring a bookkeeper, hiring a house cleaner. There is if you are a top producing professional and you're mowing your own lawn, unless you need the exercise, which I don't see why you wouldn't join a country club and have exercise playing tennis or racquetball or basketball with a potential customer. But I digress. The bottom line is there's some activities that you do that are $1,000 an hour activities. And there's some that are $10 an hour activities. Now, one of the things that I do with clients is we look at your business process. We look at your operational focus. We look at the parts of the business that puts you in the best place for your success. Now, let's turn over this equity discussion. If we want people qualified for high income positions, you got to take on some people that you train up. Now, I know when you're a manager, you're going to have to be firing people. I've had I hire virtual assistants in pairs. I've hired physical assistants in pairs. Never put two physical assistants in the same room because they'll talk to each other all day and they won't get any work done. I've hired bookkeepers that screwed around and didn't do anything. I've hired bookkeepers that focused, but I couldn't pay them enough to keep them. See, you have to shift from a doing mentality to an outcome-oriented management mentality where you're going to take leadership in a position and you're going to set up people for success. Now, the easiest way to do this is to hire vendors. So a client might hire me to come in and look at their operational process. I'm going to first try to trim the fat without changing the quality of the outcome. I'm going to look at role specialization, what's called a roles and responsibilities diagram or a RACI chart. I'm going to look at your SIPOC, the highest level process, your inputs and outputs. Now, the good news is you can do all this stuff for yourself. You can think about the outcomes and goals that you have and then do a gap analysis comparing where you are to where you want to be. You can take that gap analysis and look at what is the key processes that influence the outcomes that you're looking for. You know, if you're a straight time person where you're working hours and you get paid for every hour you work, you might feel incentivized to work every hour. But if you increase both the wage and the hours that you work, you're going to have a greater outcome, an exponential outcome. Yet if you've got to do your laundry and mow your grass and clean your house and do these other activities, you're going to have less time to work. And so what's going to happen is you're either going to eat into the quality time of your family, or you're going to eat into your sleep time, or you're just going to burn out on both sides and you'll be a cranky bastard. Nobody will want to be around you. But if you do the critical path analysis that I'm talking about right now, and you say, which of this work has more value? Now, the people doing the work all have equal value. I completely believe that every individual has an area of strength that if you can cultivate that area of strengths and you can get them the educational support that they need, that they will excel far beyond their own beliefs. But you got to take a little effort and say, look, man, I'm out here mowing the grass each day. It's taking 90 minutes. Is there a different way I could design the lawn? Could I hire a landscaper? Could I hire the kid down the street? And if I hired the kid down the street, what's it going to cost me compared to what I'm spending in time? Now, if I free up this time, what am I going to do with it? Now, you can't just jerk around on YouTube. You can't just surf the internet and hang out on social media. You got to do something. And so you have to say, well, what activity could I apply my strengths that would move me closer to the defined outcomes that I desire? Now, I know I've covered a lot in today's podcast. Again, this is about getting you a taste of what's possible. If your day, you generate $100 and 2 hours of that day is generating $50 of that total $100, how much more would you be able to produce if you could focus 4 hours on that critical activity? What if you were able to identify the strengths of the people on your team? And now somebody, instead of hating their job, loves their job. And then you start talking about development opportunities. And for a small investment in training and education, you can take somebody who was probably going to quit and take them to the next level where they can become a partner in your business. And you can start training them up in areas to even replace you. Now, I won't get into the replacement topic anytime here, but your goal really ought to be is to get the outcomes through someone else's abilities. Because you're going to have an unlimited supply of other people who can do things for you, where you have a very limited supply of the 24 hours you have each day. And so if you know from my other programs about sleep, if you know about my other programs about peak performance, you have to maintain the machine that creates the results. And so you won't be able to ever be 100% in your area of strengths. You got to keep sharpening the saw, as Stephen Covey talks about. You've got to refine your focus. You got to level up your skill sets. But ultimately, it is to get the stuff off your plate right now. It's what's the critical path. If anything is going to get done, let it be the most critical and important items that you have available. And I think I did an article about the Eisenhower method. But again, a podcast is just to get you started. You want to go out to www.insidestrategicrelations.com and invest in a membership. Now, I don't make it easy for you to invest in a membership because I'm going to spend a lot of time personally coaching you, taking you to the next level, identifying gaps, and providing very frank and sometimes not very happy, truthful feedback that's going to help you level up. Because again, if you can define your outcomes, what is it you want to achieve? What is it you want to be? What is it you want to have? What are some reasons why those things are important to you, your family, and your community? You can do a simple gap analysis from your current place and current station, your current position. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that you're wasting time, effort, and resources, and that little shifts could build up the people around you to make them more valuable to themselves and more valuable to society. Now, again, they're valuable just for being a person, but think about how much more, with your own achievements, how that feels to you. If others could have achievements as well, what would it feel like to them? And then you take that and apply it to the critical path. Package up actions and activities in the projects, give the projects deliverables and milestones, put them on a schedule, choose some projects over other projects. And folks, this is peak performance. This is what creates results that you can calculate. This is what, when you look back, you realize you worked hard, but you're at a place that's so far beyond that when outsiders look at it, they think you're privileged. They're so confused that they're blaming your success on societal factors they can't even define. You become a producer rather than a consumer. That means that you create more for society than you are consuming in that society. You're improving the lifestyle of other individuals. You're improving the skill set of other individuals. I used to bird dog for real estate agents before I was a salesperson. That means I'd go to the courthouse and grind out records. I would go research. I'd drive communities. I'd walk neighborhoods. I would door knock. And it was crap work. But it was the right work for me to get the skills to take me to the next level of becoming a selling professional and then a business development consultant and now an operational analyst or business analyst. I'm able to produce hundreds of millions of dollars of results for my clients. Now, not everybody's going to get that result because usually the clients need to have at least $1 million or $2 million already in gross. Now, we can get you to there, but you can do that on your own. The bottom line is what we've discussed today gets you started. If you want to invest in your future and invest in the outcomes, educate yourself. I mentioned a few individuals in this program today. Invest in yourself. Go learn about your critical path activities. Discover what work has high value versus low value from a monetary perspective. Look at opportunities to cultivate the people around you to help them build up their high value activities, their high value contributions. And then ultimately, this is how you transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. At least join the free newsletter at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. You will not get this information anywhere else. I have a unique perspective from more than 20 years of experience, and I've made so many mistakes and learned from many of those mistakes that I can help you avoid those mistakes. I can help you get the results. I can help you go to the next level of influence and power in a marketplace in such a way that's holistically valuable, that creates legacy, that when you look back, you made a difference. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. Thanks for listening.